Hi, guys, and welcome back to Abridged by a Scot, our series Tolkien Abridged, the Silmarillion Abridged. I am Rabu, I am the titular Scot who will be abridging things as always, and as always, we will cover our mission statement. Tolkien, wonderful, hard to understand. What else is hard to understand but wonderful? It's not in the Scottish. Here we go. So last time we covered some important stuff, we really did. We were covering chapter 10 of the Sindar. We were, going backwards in time and, a little bit over in space, and we were finding out what had been happening with the elves that were left behind in Middle-earth. There was some great stuff there. Go back, listen to the episodes if you haven't already, hear all about King Thingol and Melian and about how they're basically, the king and queen of Middle-earth at this point. Today, we're covering a double feature. We're covering two chapters. We are covering chapter 11 of The Sun and Moon and the Hiding of Valinor, and we are covering chapter 12 of Men. That's right. The second children of Iluvatar are on their way. But first, The Sun, the Moon, and the Hiding of Valinor. So here we go. So, to the naked eye, and also to Feanor's eye, and since, he was complaining about it, it might look like after all this stuff, that the Valar are just sitting there in their council chamber at the Ring of Doom, not saying or doing anything, just sitting with their thumb up their arse, essentially. Wisen up, bozo, Feanor, because these guys are actually communicating telepathically. They're actually tripping balls and, just generally, conversing with each other on like a cosmic level and trying to decide what do we do about the fact that we were, we had eco-terrorism committed against us by that crafty Melkor, now Morgoth. And basically they come to the conclusion that, to be honest, at first they don't really come at much of a conclusion. Manwë comes to the conclusion that he's absolutely raging, that Feanor could have been the greatest of elves. He could have been absolutely class, because basically he's, in terms of spirit and craftsmanship and stuff, he is so much better than all the other elves and basically all the elves that ever will be. And he just laments for the fact that, Melkor got his grubby paws on him, got his poison dripped in his ear, and basically has corrupted him, and now he's gone off on what essentially the Valar think is a suicide mission, And yeah, it's just, even when then hears Feanor's declaration as well, that, oh God, yeah, all this, we're going to go through the shit, and we're going to be super fucking sad when it happens, but God, they'll sing great songs about us, and Manwë's like, you know what? I can get behind that. That's actually pretty sick. God, yeah, the songs will be glorious, good will come of evil. But as ever, when Manwë's, actually enjoying maybe some of the good of creation, Mandos is there to drop an all-time atomic grade cold-ass statement. Mandos, and yet remain evil. To me, Feanor shall come soon. This is the literal Grim Reaper saying this. Pretty terrifying. Anyway, so the other thing that the Valar try and do here is they're like, right, we'll have one last go at it. We'll try and heal the trees of Valinor because, what is there to lose, basically? Let's see if we can actually get our light source back. Let's see if we can reverse the wrongs, right the wrongs of Melkor / Morgoth. And, they throw everything they have at it, they try and heal it, but ultimately the wounds are mortal. Morgoth and Ungoliant have done their jobs well, and the trees are absolutely cooked at this point. However, they do give birth. They do give one last golden fruit and one last silver flower. And the Valar take this opportunity and they run with it. They give these to Auli. Auli creates these giant vessels to hold these, to hold the fruit and to hold the flower. Manwë blesses them and shit. They give them to Varda, has all her star powers and shit. And she basically enchants them. They get all these Maiar spirits to inhabit them. And they sail across the sky. And boom! We got the sun and the moon. No more big lamps. No more big trees. Also, the whole world gets illuminated this time. Because the Valar are like, right. It was kind of a dick move to only light up Valinor before. Maybe we should light up the whole world. Also, we'll kind of fuck over Melkor since, he loves the dark. And also, we kind of still want to kind of try and help the Noldor, even though they, ran away and basically made out that we were holding them hostage. And also, we've got this other race coming soon called Men! And men are, not as hardy, let's say, as elves, so they're going to need all the help they can get. And basically the moon rises first, and as the moon rises the first time, is when Fingolfin's host touches down on Middle-earth and they blow their silver trumpets. Fucking epic. Love it. Like 7 cycles of the moon. Later, the sun comes up. Melkor fucking hates it. He absolutely, Morgoth absolutely hates it. It's hard to get used to the name change this quickly. Absolutely hates it. Dives down into his deepest dungeon and immediately hits the fucking smog button. And, you know, the peaks of Thangorodrim are just throwing up, like, foul vapours to just, like, block this shit out. He's like, absolutely not. I hate big light. Absolutely not. Let's have none of that. And all his orcs and beasts and shit are like, yes, thank you, master, because that is, we do not like that. But also, the Valar take this additional step. They've created the sun and the moon. They've eliminated the world. And they basically decide, we are not going to face Morgoth in open battle this time. We're not going to do it. Partially because, you know, like, the ramifications of another world war with all these, like, sentient beings would be horrible. But also, they're kind of remembering all the other times that he's fucked their shit up. Big lamps tipped over, big trees fucking slashed down. So yeah, they go super defensive. They park the bus. The Valar park the bus in Valinor. They raise all the mountains around to be like super high. They make them super steep, basically impenetrable. There's a constant watch on them. There's like a standing army and shit. There's only like one route left out, which is basically so like the Noldor with the Narthen that are still in Tyrion can still like come in occasionally, and they can go and visit the Teleri on the coast, and also the Vanir don't go fucking stir crazy, like being just on Mount God all the time and can go and like smell the sea air and pretend that they're free. Anyway, and they also take this leaf out of Thingol's book and they bewitch the sea around, you know, the kind of continent and stuff. So, you know, there's mists and vapours and anybody who tries to sail towards Valinor / land at that point, they'll kind of lose their way, they'll get turned around, they'll forget where they're going there, blah, blah, blah. You know, so nobody's making it to Valinor now, essentially. And many will try. Many mariners will try to reach the Undying Lands. And we get a little bit of foreshadowing here. And a little name drop that will be important. Well, actually not a name drop, just general foreshadowing. And that is that the Undying Lands, you know, many will try, but only one will succeed. And that would be the greatest mariner of Saw. End of chapter. Boom, let's keep going. Chapter 12 of Men. Here we go. It's time for men. It's time for the second race, the third race technically because of the dwarves, but the second planned race of Iluvatar, and by the first rising of the sun, men arrive. Here we go. They wake up in the east, the sun rises in the west, so basically they wake up looking to the west going, what are we? What is that? What the fuck is going on? And the elves, you know, kind of discover them and give them a bunch of, to be honest, not very nice nicknames. Prime among them, the Sickly, the Second-born, the Aftercomers, and probably the nicest one is the Children of the Sun. So we'll stick with the Children of the Sun. But generally, they don't think much of men at this point, you know. And generally, men are going to take a bit of a back seat in this tale, since this primarily kind of covers the first stage of, you know, of Arda, where the elves are in their prime. Absolute prime elves, like, just absolutely top-notch. Whereas the men will take a while to kind of come into their own before they kind of, you know, take over and the elvish power kind of wanes and whatnot. Also, unlike with the elves, the men, they never got like a nice Valar welcoming party since the Valar have just become, you know, isolationist Japan. So they, like, whenever they hear about the Valar, they're just like fucking spooked and are like, what the fuck are the Valar? What do you mean there's like cosmic beings living across the sea? Are you fucking crazy, bro? Ulmo tries his best to like kind of send them messages in the water and stuff, and the men kind of get it, like kind of, they kind of know that they like water and that it, you know, makes them happy and stuff, and like they enjoy it and it gives life and whatever. But they're also like too dumb to really get whatever it is that Ulmo's actually trying to say to them, so, you know, kind of half received. And some of the men actually they befriend some of the dark elves in the forest and stuff. These guys who never actually went to Valinor and stuff, and like they're not into all that Valar stuff as well, you know, not very religious. And at this point as well, you know, some good news for men is that Morgoth's not long come back to Middle-earth, so his reach doesn't quite extend that far east and stuff. So just now, like, just imagine men are just like frolicking in the meadows, just, oh, we're the second-born, the Sickly, oh, the Children of the Sun, blah, blah, blah. Having a great time. Just having like summer festivals and shit. But so we also just get a little bit of power scaling here, just kind of referentially, just so we know what the pecking order is here, right? So at the bottom we've got the dirt, and then just above the dirt we've got men. So men, you know, they're better than they will be later, but they're still just men, you know what I mean? Then it's the Dark Elves, the ones who never went to Valinor and stuff. They're in the middle. They're better than men. They're pretty sick, but you know. And then top of the pile, the absolute, you know, to go back to, you know, the very first chapter and the phrases that I used, you know, they're the big cheeses, the Godfathers, you know, the big kahunas, and that is the Light Elves. These are the elves that have been to Valinor. They have seen the trees of Valinor with their own eyes. They have lived among the gods, and they are as such just fucking class, essentially. So that is the scale. We also just get a little recap of how, you know, kind of covered this a little bit before. But men, they don't go to the same place as elves when they die. They have a mysterious death that's kind of shrouded, you know, the elves don't really know about it. The men certainly don't know where they go. And only one, now we do actually get a name drop this time, and a little bit more foreshadowing as well. The only man to have ever returned from the dead, to have ever returned from the halls of Mandos, would be Beren, son of Barahir. The name Barahir might be, you know, might give you a little tickle in the back of your mind. Look, Barahir, where have I heard that name before? Important. Yeah, Beren, son of Barahir, whose hand touched a Silmarillion. Yeah. Fuck yeah. We'll get to Beren. Believe me, we will get to Beren. Like, remember before I said about, like, the most important characters, not the top two are, like, Theanor and Morgoth, and then, like, down a bit is, like, Luthien. Beren's absolutely top 5 as well. Absolutely. Absolute unit of a man, to be honest. But we also flash forward a little bit, and we just get the kind of gist that, you know, like, eventually elves and men will kind of, like, they'll become estranged and split apart and whatever, but in these days of the First Age, even though it doesn't start off that strongly, they will become great friends, you know. Some men will even learn elvish arts and stuff. Some will even go a little bit further, and, you know, fuck some elves, so, you know, good for them. And they'll birth some, you know, half-elven offspring, and we get a lovely little bit of foreshadowing, some lovely name drops and stuff at the, you know, at the end of this chapter, and also a huge fuck you to another character, which I think is kind of hilarious. So the end of the chapter just says the most famous of these kind of half-elven people would be Eärendil and Elwing, and Elrond, their child. So you might be thinking, oh, Elrond, I know who that is. He was in the film. He's the elf, that's great. The funny thing is here that it's mentioned Eärendil and Elwing and their child Elrond. Elrond has a brother called Elros, and he's just not mentioned. He is just as half-elven, and is literally becomes the first king of Numenor, is like a huge historical figure. And at this point, for whatever reason, Tolkien was just like, nah, fuck you, Elros, get wrecked. I'm mentioning your mum, your dad, and your brother, but you don't get name dropped. Poor Elros. Nobody ever talks about Elros. Anyway, that's the end of our chapter. And next time, we'll be covering chapter 13 of The Return of the Noldor. Oh yeah, shit be hitting the fan, because Feanor's back in Middle-earth. Fingolfin's just touched down in Middle-earth. Fucking Morgoth's thrown out, you know, surprise orcish armies and shit. You know, like, it's all going to come to a head. It's all going to be on the line. The Wars of Beleriand. Oh, here we go. It's going to be so good. It's going to be so good, and it kicks up next time. Here we go. Anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed the chapter. I hope that you join me for the next chapter. Well, I hope you enjoyed both the chapters this time, actually, and enjoy the next chapter and come back for the next chapter of The Return of the Noldor. I'll see you guys next time. I've enjoyed, you know, covering this so much. I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it. As ever, any likes, shares, subscribes, you know, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, all that good stuff. If you guys could, you know, hit all those buttons, that would be wonderful. Thank you very much for listening. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye, 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 bye.